Hello guys, welcome back to Trainer TV. Professor Chris here, and I am coming at you this week with something that has actually been requested of me, and that is to do a deck profile on my Raichu Crobat deck that you guys saw last week. Now, while it may not have performed awesome against Trainer Seismitoad, um, this deck really has a lot of merit to it in its own right. And so I'm going to show you guys my setup, why I do what I do, and hopefully this will inspire you guys if you like the way that Raichu works, or especially if you like all the extra damage that comes from the bats, which are going to have a little bit more competition now that Hex Maniac is a thing. But let's just get right into it. So, starting right off the bat, I have this Pikachu here, and I specifically chose this Pikachu because of its first attack, which is Nuzzle. Let's flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Now, I chose this one over any other Pikachu because if you can't get your Raichu out for whatever reason, you can at least stall. You can at least attempt to stall one turn while you get it out. So that is why um, I have this one. Now, the main part of this deck is Raichu. And Raichu's main attack is going to be Circle Circuit. I don't even have any electric energy to use Thunderbolt if I wanted. So what Circle Circuit does is it does 20 damage times the number of your bench Pokemon. Now, you're probably a little more familiar with Mega Rayquaza's Emerald Break, which does 30 times um, the amount of your bench Pokemon. And you may be wondering, well, then why would you use Raichu over Rayquaza? Well, he's not a Mega for one, so you don't have to worry about getting that extra Spirit Link to set up. And with the bat support, Raichu can pretty much KO just about anything that Rayquaza does, and you're risking giving less prizes to your opponent. Not to mention, it beats Rayquaza in a matchup every time because of that weakness that you're hitting for. Not to mention, it's really, really good for hitting Shaymins that are sitting on the bench. So, Pikachu, Raichu are going to be the main contenders here. Next up is going to be my Ninetales. The reason I have this is because an integral part of this deck is using the Stadium Skyfield. Skyfield allows you to have 8 Pokemon on your bench for obvious reasons, and if you have your bench completely full and a Muscle Band on your Raichu, you're hitting for 180 damage, which is any EX that isn't a Mega. And if there is a Mega, then you have your Bats damage to take that out as well. So I have Skyfield here, excuse me, the Ninetales here, because if my Skyfield goes away, then I lose a potential 60 damage per turn. And it's harder because I can't get those Shaman out, and it also just really is nice for disrupting your opponent. So Ninetales is going to be really important to set up as quick as you can as soon as you have the Skyfield in. And so I just run a 1-1 Vulpix Ninetales, and I run a 4-4 Pikachu Raichu since he is the star of the show. The next secondary damage output in this deck is going to be Zubat. Now, if you notice, I have 2 Zubat here. So I have this one with the ability Free Flight, and that is if he doesn't have any energy attached to him, he has no retreat cost. And then I have this Zubat, which is from Phantom Forces, and it just does 10 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon with Skill Dive. Now, this one does not have free retreat. It has a 1 retreat cost. And the reason I have these is because, plain and simply, I just don't have any more of the Free Flight Zubat. That's how it works, and my real life deck mimics this as well. And here's the thing, though, it's not taking away from anything because these Zubat have 50 hit points. So sometimes I would rather have these ones out just for the extra 10 hit points. But it just goes to show you that you can make do with the cards that you have to make a competitive deck. If I have to use a couple of these Zubat instead of all Free Flight, that's fine. It's not going to affect much because I'm going to evolve it to Golbat anyway. And so speaking of Golbat, the Sneaky Bite ability, when you evolve it from Zubat, you can put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So this is great going against things with little setup Pokemon like Joltix and Combi and things like that. And then after you evolve to your Golbat, you have your Crobat, which of course puts 3 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon when they evolve. So that is what you are going to be using, a combination of Zubat, Golbat, Crobat to get damage along with Raichu to finish them off. Now, supporting backup Pokemon I have, you saw that Ninetales already. I play 3 Shaman because I find that I never have room for a fourth anyway. And Shaman EX is one of the staple cards, and because of that, it's getting pretty pricey. And thankfully, I was able to pull these in packs. And now its ability setup, when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may draw cards until you have 6 cards in your hand. So that is for speed of setup. Next is going to be Jirachi EX. As you can tell, this is an expanded deck, and its ability Stellar Guidance allows me to search for a supporter. So ideally, on my first turn, I'm going to fill up my bench, I'm going to get a bunch of Shaman, and then at the very end, I'm going to play a Jirachi for one of my draw supporters in order to continue drawing and getting more cards into my hand and out. So a few of the trainers that I have here, I'm just going to start with the supporters. My favorite supporter in this entire deck is going to be Chorus. Chorus allows you to shuffle your hand into your deck and draw the number of cards equal to both yours and your opponent's bench Pokemon. So if your bench is full, you have 8 cards already on top of everything that your opponent has. I faced a Mega Rayquaza deck when I was playing in the Boston Open at Worlds, and we each had our bench full, and I was able to chorus for 16 cards, so that is nothing to sneeze at all. My other draw support, I play 1N, and that is specifically for late game play. So if my opponent is really getting an edge on me, I just have that sitting in my discard pile to versus Seeker up and be able to end my opponent down to 1. And my very last draw support is I play 3 Professor Sycamore. I don't play any more because ideally I'm going to be playing more Chorus than I am Sycamore, and I'm going to Versus Seeker for those anyway. So, but I have Sycamore just in case, I draw Chorus at the very beginning and there's only like 2 Pokemon benched. I obviously don't want to play that, so I have Sycamore kind of as my backup there. Continuing on with supporters, I play 1 AZ. This AZ can be used for either picking up the Shaman or for picking up a Crobat in order to evolve more. So if I have like a Zubat and a Golbat that's been in play, and then I AZ up one of my Crobats, I can get in another 50 damage on those other 2. So AZ can be great for that supplementary damage. Other supporters include Pokemon Fan Club, and once Breakthrough comes out, I'm probably going to replace this with Bridget. That allows me to get 3 Pokemon onto my bench. But for the time being, I have Pokemon Fan Club, and it's great because once in a while I can snag a Shaman if necessary to put onto my bench and draw a couple more cards, or sometimes I just need a few more Zubat to help set up my Golbat Crobat line. So that's what Pokemon Fan Club is for. But as you can see, I only play one of them because I typically am never going to use more than one at a time. Um, Another great supporter is Lysander. With Raichu being able to dish out so much damage so quickly, a big part of it is going to be making sure you're hitting the right Pokemon. Mainly what my Lysander is for is hitting Shamans, because I'm hitting them for weakness, so even if I don't have my bench completely full, I'm still going to be knocking out Shamans left and right all day. So I have 2 of these Lysander going for me. And let's see, very last one is going to be a Wally. I know not many people play Wally. I do though, and the reason being is because if I go second, and if I can fill my bench quick enough, I can potentially hit with my Raichu for 180 damage on my second turn, or excuse me, on turn 1 if I go second. So that's why I have this Wally here, and I can start him out with that Jirachi if necessary. So it's really good for getting in the game and getting in the game very, very quickly. Next up, we'll go to my items. I, of course, have the Muscle Band. I run 2 of them because typically that's all you're going to get to run anyway, is just about 2 with how low HP Raichu has. He only has 90 hit points. Other items that I run, of course, 4 versus Seeker, because I do run such a few supporter count. So that's part of the reason why this is a somewhat bad matchup against Seismitoad, is because I play so many versus Seeker. But that's okay, because as Standard rolls around and Seismitoad starts to rotate out, you won't have to worry so much about that, because you can Lysander out the Vileplume that's blocking your items and take care of it that way. Next up, I run 3 Ultra Ball, and those Ultra Ball are primarily used for getting Shaman, getting Raichu, or if I need just a little bit more damage, picking up that Crobat as well. But mostly it's used for getting a couple cards out of my hand in order to make my Shaman a little more valuable. Um, I have 2 Trainer's Mail, and this was probably the biggest change that I found really helped me out with my deck because it allows just a little bit more speed without having to draw anything else. Because if I play all my Shaman and then my Sycamore and I still don't have what I need, I can Trainer's Mail and hope to get that Ultra Ball or whatever it may be. Like leading to my next item, the Escape Rope. The reason I play Escape Rope is because I use this somewhat as a Lysander more so than a switch because if you notice, the Golbats and the Crobats and the Raichus all have free retreat and some of the Zubats as well. So most of the time, I don't need to play a switch. But I will use Escape Rope in order to disrupt my opponent a little bit more, and it seems to work out very well. So I run 2 Escape Rope in this deck. My last 2 items here, I have Sacred Ash, which is a absolute lifesaver if I have to Sycamore away a whole bunch of bats or like my Ninetales Vulpix or something like that. Secret Ash is awesome, and then it also allows you to psych people out when you're getting really low on cards, and they feel confident being able to burn out their decks, and then all of a sudden you add 5 more cards, and then they deck out first. So Sacred Ash is definitely a great choice. The only tough time you'll have with it is if you happen to have to Sycamore it away on the first turn. And then my ace spec I have here, I opted to run Scoop Up Cyclone. And I chose to run Scoop Up Cyclone instead of Computer Search because it allows me to get the Crobats back in my hand without a coin flip, and that allows for another potential 50 damage depending on my setup. And it also allows me to pick up a Shaman if I need to draw more cards. It just seems overall a little more beneficial for this specific deck. And very last is my energy count. I run 4 Fire Energy just in case I run into an Aegislash or something that blocks special energy or someone with a bunch of hammers. It seems to work out pretty well with a count of 4, and I run Fire just in case for whatever reason I have to use this Ninetales that puts people to sleep. I've never had to use it before, but that's why I run Fire Energy. And then, of course, 4 double colorless because that is all that Raichu's attack costs is just a single double colorless energy. So I'm going to jump into a match here and I can show you guys how this deck works in action. Alright, so it looks like he's probably playing a Giratina deck, so we're going to see how this goes. I don't have a whole lot of experience against those ones. Perfect. You'll typically want to go first just so you can get your setup going. When you start off with this deck, always put up a Pokemon that has free retreat if you can, or can evolve into free retreat whenever possible. Of course, getting as much down onto your bench in the beginning is absolutely key. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to Ultra Ball away my 2 supporters because I have a Versus Seeker in my hand. And so that will allow me to not have to discard my Golbat and have to hope I get a Sacred Ash, and it also allows me just to free up a little bit more space there. So it looks like we're doing pretty well. I am not missing much in the way of Pokemon. I always make sure that I have all 3 of my Shaman and see if I have my Vulpix Ninetales. So I don't have my Ninetales, but that's okay. You can work without it. So I'm going to get this Shaman. Go ahead and play it down, use that setup to draw 4 more cards, put down another Zubat, and since the only thing that I have is this Fire Energy, I'm just going to go ahead and attach it to Pikachu. I may as well get started. So I will Versus Seeker, and I'm going to opt for the N because that'll net me 6 cards instead of 3 that Chorus would have had. And doesn't look like there's really anything else I want to do since that Zubat is just kind of hanging out there. I can't use Nuzzle since I went first. And I'm going to save this Muscle Band for another Pikachu. So I'm just going to go ahead and end my turn, and we'll see what they do. So they do have a Virizion EX here. Typically, Raichu does very well because Virizion doesn't have a huge damage output. Oh, it's Manectric. Look at that. Okay, that's fine. We'll see how this goes. So he's got his Muscle Band, his Grass Energy, and he's playing a Birch's Observations, which he hit Tails on. So he only gets 4 cards. So it looks like we are in a pretty good position to start off. And what's nice is that if you look here, so I already have my Golbat to evolve, and that will, I can either choose to go for the Dynamo and hope I knock that out, or get a little bit damage on the Virizion EX, which I think at this moment is a little bit more important. So now, let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and attach that Fire Energy, and I'm going to go ahead and Versus Seeker for the Chorus, because that way all these cards get shuffled back. I don't have to worry about it, and my opponent doesn't get 2 more cards since they seemed a little bit stuck. So I'm going to go ahead and play down this Zubat, get my Skyfield out, and then play my Shaman, and hope we draw into a Raichu, which we did not, but that's okay. So I'll play down my Vulpix as soon as I can. Trainer's Mail first, Skyfield, okay. And we didn't hit it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and retreat into this Zubat down here, the one that doesn't have the free retreat, because more than likely he's just going to knock it out next turn. And thankfully my Golbats all have free retreat, which is very, very nice. So yeah, there we go. It looks like he's going to Emerald Slash, and he played an N, which is fine. I'm fine with an N, and that way I know he can't Lysander me up anymore. And it looks like we're set up pretty well. So, yeah, he went ahead and knocked out that Zubat, but that's okay. It looks like we should be pretty nice and set up for this revenge knockout. So I'm going to go ahead and put up this Pikachu, because I can always retreat it again if I end up needing to. So I'll evolve to Raichu. And always play down as many basics as you can, unless, of course, you're waiting for something specific. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with my Zubat. I'll play a Trainer's Mail, just see what we can potentially get. I'll go ahead and grab the Skyfield, because that is something that I can, Ultra Ball away. So I have my Scoop Up Cyclone, but right now drawing is going to be a little bit more important to me. So I'm going to go ahead and Ultra Ball away the Skyfield and the Scoop Up Cyclone, and opt to keep that Versus Seeker. So I'm going to go ahead and play Shaman, draw some more cards. Boom. I'll go ahead and play this Crobat, and I'm going to start getting some... Actually, I'm going to try and hit that Dynamo. Let's see what I can do there, because I'm going to be knocking out this Virizion EX, which is pretty crazy. So I'll attach that double colorless energy. I'll go ahead and opt Versus Seeker for the Chorus, and you're about to see why. Boom. 10 cards. Look at that. So I got my Golbat, so that means I'm going to go ahead and be knocking out his Dynamo for 1 prize. And I'll go ahead and attach this Muscle Band to Pikachu, and I can already Circle Circuit for the knockout on this Virizion. 80 damage. And look at that. That was only our 2nd turn, and we already took 3 prizes. So all he has left is this Manectric, which he can potentially knock out my Raichu, depending on if he's able to, yeah, there we go, get that electric energy, which is totally fine. He has a Bust-in Dragonite, which it doesn't see very much play, but it can be kind of a cool idea. So he's going to go ahead and bust in up to knock out that Raichu, but that's fine because I'm going to be able to KO him immediately back with this other Pikachu that I have sitting down here. So now we just wait for him to attack. So he's going to opt for an Ultra Ball. If I were him, I'd be looking for a Shaman or maybe a Mega Manectric if he has a Spirit Link in his hand, depending on what kind of deck he's playing. So, but he seems very bent on setup because he has that Emerald Slash and these Dynamo, which I'm assuming are meant to evolve into... Oh no, he went ahead and ended me. That's okay. Assuming he's going to turn those into electrics. But that's okay, because it looks like we can find a way to make this work. So even if he knocks out Raichu, hopefully I'm going to be drawing into another Chorus or a supporter or something like that. So he opts to knock out my Raichu, which is fine. And when I promote, I'm going to put up this Crobat instead of Pikachu because I can always retreat back. So I'm going to go ahead and with this Crobat, go ahead and knock out that Dynamo, prevents him from being able to set up anymore. Got my Ninetales, so I have my Stadium Lock going for me now. And let's see. I'm going to go ahead and opt to escape rope, so that way he has to do a little bit more setup on his Manectric, or at least waste his energy over there. So I will play down the Pikachu, and I will just go ahead and pass my turn. Rather than Nuzzle, I don't want to risk having my Pikachu with the Muscle Band knocked out. So he opts to go ahead and play that Grass Energy, I'm assuming to do Overrun, which is fine. It's not going to be knocking out my Crobat, and it's not going to be knocking out anything on my bench, so that's no problem at all. Looks like he's going to Shauna to get 5 more cards. We'll see if that helps him out at all. Yeah, so just like I suspected, he did have those Dynamotor Electrics that allow you to get, it's basically Metal Links, but electric. So he has another Dragonite that he's going to opt to bust in with, and that's okay because, let's see, he's still not going to knock me out. So I'm totally fine with him doing that. Got the Sycamore, which is exactly what I was looking for, and evolve to Raichu, and I'm going to be able to knock this Dragonite out immediately, which is pretty amazing. So it seems like he's not running any Enhanced Hammer, so I'm going to go ahead and just play that energy down on that Pikachu now, retreat my Crobat for free, and go ahead and knock this Dragonite out immediately for the victory. And there you have it. So when everything works and goes smoothly, you can see that Raichu can just explode and knock out just about any EX that it could possibly want to. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Leave any comments down below with any questions you may have, or let me know if you do play Raichu, if you play it differently than I do, or any type of speed deck like that. So thank you guys once again for watching Trainer TV, the Pokemon Lifestyle channel. Remember, train on. Yeah.